Hello everyone, how are you all? Hope you are doing well. Welcome back to Sonika's class. Today we are going to start the next topic in Russian Revolution, which is the Russian Empire and economy and society of Russia in 1914. So, first we will see that what was the geographical boundaries of Russia in 1914. Let us get started. In 1914, Russia was ruled by Tsar Nicholas II. Now, this word TSAR, it is actually in Russian language. King is called as Tsar. Okay, Tsar means king, and name of the king was Nicholas II. Okay, he was the ruler of Russia that time. And here we will see geographical area, that what all parts it included. The Russian Empire included current-day Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, parts of Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, stretching to the Pacific and comprised today's Central Asian states, Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. So these all countries actually now most of them they are the independent nations right now, but that time they are part of Russia. Okay, means present day Russia in 1914 it was much larger than present day Russia. So direct question will not be asked on this. You can just remember then do few of them, such as you can remember Finland, Ukraine, Poland, Belarus, Estonia, etc. Now here we will see religion. Major of the Russian population they followed Orthodox Christianity. We all know that Christianity has three sects. One is Orthodox, second is Catholics, and third is Protestants. Okay, so majority religion of Russia was Orthodox Christianity, but apart from Orthodox Christianity, there were other religions too, such as Catholic, Protestants, Muslims, and Buddhists. Okay, these religions were also found in Russia. I hope this much is clear. First, we have seen who was the ruler. Then we saw what all countries or what all regions were part of Russia that time in 1914. Third, we have seen religion. That majority religion was Orthodox Christianity and other religions were Catholic, Protestant, Muslims, and Buddhists. Let's move to the next topic. Now here we will study Russian economy and society in 1914. Okay. And here question also comes in the same way that what were the conditions in Russia before 1914 or on the eve of the revolution, what was the society of Russia, what was the economy of Russia. So you can write from here then. This is the major part to focus on, that 85% of Russian population, they were engaged in agricultural activities. Now this proportion, 85%, it is in itself a very huge proportion for any country for having 85% of the population as agriculturalists. Now this proportion was higher than any other country of Europe like France and Germany, where it was just 40 to 50%. Okay, in other countries of Europe this proportion was very less. Okay, so it means Russia at that time it was a major exporter of grains. Okay, because they were producing so much of grains, because 85% of people they were producing crops, they were cultivating land, or they were producing crops, so it made Russia a major exporter of grains. Okay, so this first part we have seen about peasants, or you can say economy. It was based on agriculture, because 85% of population they were agriculturalists. This made them major exporter of grains. Apart from meeting the needs of their country, they were also used to export the grains because they produced so much. From now we will discuss about industries. Now industries they were found in pockets. Found in pockets means industries were very few in Russia. Okay, so industries now few they were, but where they were located? So major industrial regions in Russia that time were Saint Petersburg and Moscow. This is also very potential 1-mark question, that name the industrial regions of Russia before 1914. So you will write Saint Petersburg and Moscow. These were the industrial places of Russia. Then most of the production was taken by craft workshops. Now as we said that industries were less in Russia, So production activities, they were taken up by craft workshops. Craft workshops, I hope you know, where most of the work is done without the help of machines. Okay, yes, they may use basic machines. Okay, most of the work is done by hands, handicraft, etc. Okay, so it was in 1890s that many industries began to be set up in Russia. Now industries were few, but when they were set up and also when they started to grow, it was during 1890s. Why? Because in 1890s, railway network in Russia expanded. As a result, foreign investment increased. Okay. So now when railway network extended, now Russian major places of Russia, they were now connected with other parts or other countries also, which were connected with Russia through land boundaries. Okay. So foreign investment increased now because of expanded railway network. Now, when foreign investment increased, so industries also increased. As a result, what happened? Coal production doubled and iron and steel quadrupled. Doubled, I hope you all, doubled means multiplied by 2, quadrupled means multiplied by 4. Okay. So, now at some places, industries and craft workshops, they were same in number. Now before we have seen industries were very few, but after 1890s as the foreign investment increased, so now at few places industries and craft workshops, they became same in number. Okay, now industries also started growing more in number. Till here we have seen about industries. Now we will focus on workers. Okay, because industries will not run without workers. Now, most of the industries in Russia, they were private property. Private property means most of the industries, they were not owned by government. They were the private properties, or you can say there were individual owners of the industries. Now, this was something I was talking about in the previous video, that Karl Marx and all those reformers, etc., philosophers, etc., which we read there, they were against private property, or socialists were against private property, because according to them, it is this private property only which is the root of all social evils in society. Why it was so? Right now we will see. Sometimes the workers had to work for 15 hours at low wages. Craft workshops 15 hours and factories 10 to 12 hours. Now, mostly in industries and in craft workshops, working hours were very, you can say, long, and their working conditions were also very bad. Now, these working hours, they may vary from craft workshop to factories or industries. Craft workshops, they had 15 hours of working, and in factories, these hours were less, 10 to 12 hours. So now, from this point, you can say that conditions of workers working in industries was better than workers working in craft workshops. Okay, because in craft industries, as most of the work is done without machines, so it is done slow. Okay, so they want the same production, so they were used to work for more hours. Okay, so craft workshops, they were more exploitative, we can say, than the factories. But we cannot say that factories 10 to 12 hours were also justified, because their wages were very less, working conditions were very bad, and for so long hours it was also not good. Now, what did government do to remedy this situation? Large factories, they were supervised by the government to ensure minimum wages and limited hours of work. Now, government, or we can say Tsar, appointed inspectors, those who will investigate or those who will survey large industries, so that workers are given minimum wages and there are limited working hours. But these inspectors could not prevent rules being broken. But these inspectors were also very inefficient, or you can say ineffective, because they could not prevent rules being broken. The owners of industries, they were used to hide whatever, if there is any raid by the inspectors, that time they will show that, their workers are happy, or they will ask them, their workers, not to complain and all, whatever. So in whatever way, by using whatever methods, they were used to break the rules. And accommodation varied from rooms to dormitories. Now, In different factories or workshops, accommodation means the facilities to live, whatever facilities were given to the workers, they varied from rooms to rooms. We all know. Now dormitories are such places as you can see in this picture here. In your textbook also this picture is given. That picture is in black and white. Here it is more clear. Dormitories are especially the rooms which are meant only for sleeping purpose. As you can see here, there are these beds lying over. These beds, they look, little in good condition, but which are given in your textbook, they are in very bad condition. They are in, like this, vertical beds were there, okay, and in shifts, workers were used to come there to sleep only, okay, because if they will work for 15 hours, means apart from work, they will have a lot of work to do, to cook food, to have rest, to take bath and all, there is a lot of work. So they were used to sleep for very less hours. And if it was not so that this is permanently your bed, okay, there were shifts after, once your sleep is over, then there is some other batch coming to sleep here, right? It was like this. So accommodations varied from rooms to dormitories. This was all about workers. First we have seen about Russian geographical boundaries, then religion, then in economy we studied about 85% of people, they were agriculturalists. Then we have seen industries were less, but they started growing after 1890s. Then we saw here now most of the industries were private property. So we have seen the conditions of workers then. Workers in Russia came from different backgrounds. Okay, not all the workers were same, or we can say there were divisions in workers as well. The workers were also a divided group. Some of them had strong link with their ancestral village. Now how they were divided? This is also sometimes 3-mark question, that how the workers were divided, or what were the divisions, or what were the basis of divisions among workers. So first division was workers were divided on the basis of link with their village. Few workers, they had link with their villages, means sometimes they were used to go back to their villages, okay, for a few days, meet their families, then come back to cities to work. But few of them, they permanently settled in the cities, so they did not have any link anymore, okay. So this was the first division. Then second, workers were also divided by skill, and metal workers were on the top of this hierarchy. On the basis of skill, how they were divided? Metal workers called themselves as aristocrats. Why aristocrats? Aristocrats means those who are superior or richer, those who have more power, because they call themselves as aristocrats because according to them their work required more training and skill, okay. So this is also 1-mark question. Why metal workers called themselves as aristocrats? So answer will be because their work required more training and skill. So second division based, first we have seen link with the village, second on the basis of skill, now third on the basis of gender. Women also made around 31% of the working capital, okay, means out of each 100 workers, 31 were women, but their wages were lower than men. Somewhere at some places it could be 50% or it could be 3/4%, okay, no sorry, 3/4 part of the men's wages, okay. If for example if you say that per day if a man is earning 100 rupees, then women could get only 50 to 75 rupees. So on the basis of gender also there were divisions, means women did not get the same wages. In spite now here, okay, we missed one point. Workers' dress and manners also manifested such divisions. Okay, another division was on the basis of the manners and especially on the basis of dress. It also showed divisions among workers. So till now we saw divisions among workers on basis of 4 bases. Now, in spite of these divisions, workers often unite to strike. Now we have seen that they were divided group, but here now we are seeing that though they were divided, but at the same time they were used to unite whenever they had to go on strike or protest against the owners of industries. So on what issues? Whenever someone was dismissed from work, okay, they were fired. They were, sometimes factories were shut down. Sometimes owners of the industries, they were used to dismiss the workers. Okay, so at that time, workers got united and they against the owner of industries, and they went on strike. Or this strike would also be on the against the bad working conditions. Such strikes took place frequently in textile industry. During 1896 to 97, it was in metal industry, and during 1902, it was in textile industry. So now, the workers formed unions and declared strikes when the working conditions in factories deteriorated. So whenever the conditions in industries, working conditions in industries, they became worse. Okay, so that time workers went on strike. And we have also seen that in the previous video also we saw that workers formed unions, and these unions, they raised funds also, so that in future if someone is in need, with these funds they could help those members. But these unions, they were very less. Not each and every industry or a craft workshop they had such unions. Now till now our focus was first on economy, then we have seen industry, and we saw workers. Now we are going to countryside. In the villages, we will focus on peasants. In villages, the peasants cultivated most of the land, but focus here, they cultivated most of the land, but they were not the owners of that land. Large properties were owned by nobility, crown, and the orthodox church. Church was also like political institution only that time. So most of the land in villages, it was owned by nobility, crown, and church. Peasants just cultivated that land. We are not saying that none of the peasants, they had their land, or they owned the land. They owned the land, but most of the land was owned by these three. Bearing a few exceptions, the peasants had no respect for nobility. Peasants did not respect nobles there. Why? Nobles enjoyed their power and position because of their services to the Tsar. Because according to peasants, if nobles are powerful and if they are on good positions, it is just because of their services to the Tsar, and they were not popular among masses. Okay? Why peasants hated nobles? They hated because nobles were not popular among masses, or nobles did not serve the people, but they served the Tsar. That's why they became popular, or they became powerful. Okay, that is why peasants hated nobles. Peasants of Russia wanted the land of nobles to be given to them. So peasants now wanted that land of nobles should be given to the peasants. Okay, so many a time they refused to pay rent and even murdered their landlords, because most of them, they were used to take land on rent. Okay, so many a times when they did not have money to pay rent, they were used to refuse, and even after they were used to kill their landlords. Such incidents, they occurred on large scale in Russia in 1902, and it was in South Russia. By 1905, such incidents took place in all over Russia. So now next we focus on that all those who were the owners, those who had their land, those who owned land, how they lived. Russian peasants pooled their land together periodically. For example, these are the 6 pieces of land, okay, and they are owned by 6 people. Let us say first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. And it is owned by A, it is owned by B, C, D, E, F. Okay. So these are the owners of these number of land. So now the commune or the mir, commune means the head of their community. They were used to divide the land according to the needs of individual families. Now it might happen that A's family has expanded, okay, or A's family, it is struggling with economic problems, okay. So it might happen that A's land is also not fertile. So whenever the land was divided periodically, that time the needs of families were kept in mind. It might happen that A will not have this land. A can be given land 4 or land 3, on the basis of fertility or on the basis of size of the land. Okay, so this principle or this habit of Russian peasants, it made them naturally, socialist, because socialist idea also says that uh, there should be no private property, right? So this habit of Russian peasants, it also prevented land being private property, because they were used to divide the land periodically. Okay, so Russian peasants were already socialist, we can say, on this basis, right? So this is all about today's video. Our focus was on Russian economy and society. Okay, that how people live. We have seen divisions, we have seen workers, peasants. Okay, then we saw industry, what were the conditions of workers there, then peasants. Okay, hope you have understood the topic. If you have any queries, then please let me know in the comment section. And if you really liked the video, then please subscribe. Thank you for watching.